promised. Yesterday he signed an order which is barring refugees, it's a temporary ban on refugees from a number of countries from entering the US, and that includes a ban on visa issuance of visa to nationals of certain countries, including Somalia and Sudan. Now, the first effect of that is that we see 90 Somali nationals and 2 Kenyans. They landed at JKIA aboard a chartered US aircraft yesterday. Now, we've seen this happening, and this happened, I'm sure they must have taken off from the US even before the president signed that order. That means, as we continue, we might see more of them coming back home. Senator Hassan Omar, I remember when we were discussing this just before the US elections, you said, yes, let them come back home. We need them back here to work. We can do much better with them back home.
Listen, Donald Trump is giving you a very rare insight of raw America. You need to start to take charge of your own destiny. Stop this business of wanting to go wash dishes and do 3 jobs, odd jobs, to make a living because you have allowed corrupt leaders rain havoc in your country. Yeah, in fact, Donald Trump could be a good impetus for people to now make hay in their own countries. For people to now, endeavor and strive to create those America that they want to seek, the land of the promised land, in their own countries, rather than the American dream, land to tell the Kenyan story. So I think, for me, stay at your homes. I have no issues. People are so distraught about the Trump presidency. The Trump presidency has the effect of demystifying the United States. We will see its underbelly. We will see its rogue nature. Forget about these niceties of people who've been to Harvard and Yale, the Clintons and Obama, who give you therapy of the mouth, and yet they know that the system is skewed against us. So I think these are the kind of things I think we need to take seriously. Let Donald Trump bring back our Kenyans. Kenya, has already is underway in terms of relocating Somali refugees from Dadaab. So even we are giving away refugees. We don't want them. We're saying they have been a burden to us, they have been a security problem to us. We've used the same narrative.
But as you see, look at the numbers. 90 Somalis are being deported back to Kenya. 2 Kenyans against 90 Somalis. That presents another problem, because now
Kenya also will then
Kenya as a platform just to take off and being brought back.
And then Kenya now will do what, because they already have been transferring refugees back into Somalia. Kenya will transfer them back to Somalia.
Do you see a problem in now having this many refugees who just use Kenya as a transit to the United States? Now they're coming back en masse.
Can I first disagree with the sentiments of my colleague here and state that he can afford to say that, to tell people not to immigrate, because he's a senator, probably he's earning, he's living a good life. But when you look at from the point of view of a poor person, of a poor graduate who cannot be able to secure employment in Kenya, to me it makes all the sense for that person to go and seek greener pastures outside. And by the way, it is usually beneficial to the sending country in terms of the money that they send to us. For a very long time we have been depending to show up our shilling, to show up our currency reserve. We have been depending on things like coffee and tea, but we now know the so-called remittances. They are now our number 1 earner of foreign exchange,
and most of them are in the US.
Yes, indeed. So to that extent, in my own opinion, in fact, if I were to advise the government, we should come up with a policy that somehow, in a discreet manner, that encourages people to immigrate. By doing that, one, you are going to provide employment to people in other countries that require human capital from us. Number 2, those people are going to eke a living and send money back to us and raise our living standards. And and therefore, if you were to adopt such kind of a policy, you would try to tell Kenyans how to become legal immigrants. This idea of becoming illegal immigrants is the one which probably made this guy to win. Number two, like now I know that we do have other problems which are happening at the Middle East, you can negotiate as a country with that other country which requires labor for fair and human rights standards that are adhered to ensure people are not oppressed there. But the whole idea of people immigrating is that it is like telling a person from the rural Kenya, let's say, person who is in Masailand, who wants to come to Nairobi, not to immigrate to Nairobi. The whole idea of immigration is about pursuing economic interests.
Yes.
And it makes all the
No. Let me help you, my brother. Please. Your argument is completely convoluted. What Senator Hassan is saying is very simple. And I happen to have benefited from the experience of having left Kenya as a student, go to the US as a student, live there for 6 years, and then decided to come back home. There is no argument you can make telling your citizens that they need to immigrate to some other country as refugees for them to go and settle there because they are seeking for economic opportunity. The economic opportunity in Kenya and in Africa exists. It is because we have mismanaged, misorganized, destabilized, and made our countries completely basket cases, and we are now called banana republics. What we need in Kenya today, yes, I agree with you that we need to have bilateral agreements with these countries so that we can have our technical and educated individuals to go and provide skills outside the country. But that must be within a legal framework where these Kenyans go and become citizens who have got.
That's what he said. He said
no,
they should be
no. He said
secret policy.
Yes, we should have a secret. Which secret policy? Kenyans are Kenyans. We must believe, and we must get to a point where we manage this country, where we provide the necessary frameworks, economic, political, and all the frameworks we need, so that Kenyans can be given jobs, so that we can run our economy properly, so that our roads are done, so that Kenyans can have jobs in Kenya.
Okay.
The argument that we are going to have Kenyans being shifted to America and you go and become a refugee in the Mule, I mean, let's get serious. Okay. We can't have Kenyans going, for example, to Tanzania as refugees. Let us create an environment where Kenyans are Kenyans, they get jobs, they get everything Kenyans need.
It is definitely an emotive subject.
Yes. You can't say that Kenyans are going to be refugees. Honestly,
no, you see, can I reply?
Okay, let's allow him to clarify.
Well, he can speak then.
Let me speak then, you'll clarify your point. I think in Ndimuli, I want to salute Donald Trump. He's trying to implement what he had promised the people of America. Remember, his slogan was "Make America Great Again." And make it great again because most Americans, they don't have maybe job opportunities because of the illegal immigrants who've come there, who've competed for those maybe limited resources. And in this case, what he's trying to do, this is about the illegal immigrants. I don't refuse your point of maybe people looking for greener pastures, but they must look at the legal framework, a legal way. Of course, we have many experts, Kenyans, who are outside there, the medical doctors, some specialties that are there earning a living, you know. When you look at the refugee law, the refugee policy, the three ways of maybe settling the refugees, we have the issue of integration, of course repatriation, integration, and that country settlement. You find that some of the Kenyans maybe who are there, they are illegal immigrants. Some of them have fake papers and they don't want to come back home. And that's why from the onset we've been saying we're against these diasporas coming to vote. It will be actually opening a Pandora's box unless you have a clear framework that you can identify who are these legal Kenyans who are out there. Because it will be a big room for rigging if we are not very clear. And we've been telling IBC, unless there's an established clear framework, we know the numbers, who are these legal Kenyans who are there. And imagine, it can change. I remember there's a country whereby they were allowing those on the diaspora to vote. And they changed who won. These are people who have left the country, they've gone those sides, maybe they involve themselves in criminal activities, you never know. Last time, no. Let me tell you one thing. I was in London, and I happened to pay a visit to the High Commissioner. And I saw someone with an old ID of Kenya, the old generation, and this person, how he got the ID we don't understand, because he used Kenya. He's not a Kenyan, by the way. He came in as a refugee, he managed to get that ID, and he found himself in London. So when it came to, when they're doing round to be able to do a survey to know who are the Kenyans, this guy came, but when they tried to probe, he's actually not a Kenyan. But he said, no, he's not a Kenyan. He claims, I came through Kenya to find my way here as a refugee. So unless there's that audit has been done, and if we allow these people to vote, even those non-Kenyans who got their IDs through crooked ways, they are likely to change the voting pattern here.
Yes.
So the issue of what Trump is doing is just trying to make America great again. One thing I like about Trump, his policy on pro-life. You remember he said those people who are benefiting from their money from Kenya and they are procuring abortion, they're not going to give the money. From a Catholic point of view, I do support Donald Trump. And by the way, he might have good policies for Africa, you never know. So let's wait for the foreign policy to see how it's going to work. Yes. They might even fund us more than what Obama had given Kenya.
You wanted to clarify your point.
Well, my point is, I agree with him that indeed as a country we need to improve it. We need to have a situation where it is us who are luring people to come to Kenya, not our people going back. When you have going out, when you have a situation people going out, to me is a vote of no confidence to the institutions and that society. Be that as it may, I do also know that for a country to go up, one of the strategies is usually you send your people out, they get the skills, they come back, they develop it. Like him. He's a very good member of parliament, and there is every reason probably one to say he's a good member of parliament to a certain extent because of his experiences there. So we need to send our people out, get that knowledge, come here. If at all for any reason they wish to stay there, fine, but at least we lure them to still continue sending money to us. Instead of this idea of us celebrating poverty, hey, stay in Kenya, stay poor, no. Get out, get money, wherever you are. That helps Kenya more than this guy of just,
and then also, and then you say, so what happens? On one side, most African countries, South Africa, Kenya, the ones that are said to be a bit more prosperous, bar people, even Africans, South migration, which I favor, South migration. Today, when was the last time the government gave a Nigerian who settled here citizenship? Or any other person. So you know the unfair standard that they're calling for. When you go there and you start selling potatoes and working in 3 shifts, they want you to be given nationality, and they feel it's a legitimate economic opportunity for you. When a fellow African comes here, you jail him and deport him. So I think these double standards also of African states is unfair. So if you think it is legitimate for your citizens to go to the U.S. and seek economic prosperity, if you think it is legitimate for them to be registered as refugees and nationals of those countries, then why are you applying a different standard at your own country? When was the last time? But then the last thing, I think it's absolutely unfair for you to say that you promote the transfer of your own citizens to go and seek economic ends somewhere. What we need to do is to create. Nobody wants to go out of to live out of their neighborhood. There's something about you living here. Your family is here. Your uncles are there. Your society is there. Your immediate family is there. Everybody is here. So, and he says yes, that it's because I'm a senator, and we need to create that senator opportunity. Because I came from a humble, from a poor background, through school, through opportunities afforded to me by life and by systems that work. I am now saying that even if I go out of Kenya for a week, I miss home. We must create a situation where everybody misses their home. So you cannot then just tell the poor people, go and seek odd jobs somewhere because we don't have enough jobs here.
Senator, in a small way, Ndimuli, another thing I wanted to say for me, because I worked in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, even with the successes with the Jubilee government has had diplomatically in terms of the engagement internationally, one of its weakest points is that we have actually not been able as a country, and to a large extent I'm not sure whether President Uhuru has never looked at it from that point of view. I think we need to have the Kenyan government engage itself with international partners so that we can have bilateral agreements signed to provide employment opportunities for Kenyans out there. I think it's been one of our weakest points diplomatically, in that if, for example, Kenya has got the capacity, Kenya has got trained personnel, Kenya has got the ability to provide labor to whichever, whether it's Qatar, whether it's Saudi Arabia, whether it's Lebanon, all these other countries that have actually always used Kenyans, by Kenyans providing labor. My point is, if we can have the Kenyan government, and indeed for this case, because the Jubilee government is in power, I think we should have done much more. Just like the Philippines, you have a lot of Filipinos, more than 25 million, who are working internationally, and the amount of money that they are drawing into the country on a monthly basis, about 19 billion, I mean, every year, 19 billion US dollars.
Yes.
So I think the government...
So that argument is also valid, that
yes.
We could actually encourage Kenyans to go out.
Exactly, but legally, in other words, not as refugees, but as...
One thing I want to point...
Within the legal framework, internationally accepted.
Let me point out quickly, in terms of bilateral agreements, I think the government has been having this. I sit in the Committee of Foreign Affairs, and my brother, he also sits there. It does not mean that when you have a lot of these bilateral agreements,